So the Seahawks lose a heartbreaking game to the Saints 25-20 and leaves a lot of people asking, is our season over? Well, I'm sad to tell you, of course not. We are still in first place in the NFC West. We got to all just relax. But it is unfortunate that we lost that game because we were literally one play away from winning that game. One field goal, one foot, one toe tap, one penalty, one stop away from winning that game, and we really should have won that game. But unfortunately, we didn't, and so here we are. The field goal at the end of that first half, which I think it was a long one. It would have been a 57-yard field goal that Hauschka would have attempted, but because of the snap bobble by John Ryan, he never got a chance to do it. And if he makes that kick, we're talking about a whole different ending to that game because instead of a touchdown, we would only need a field goal. Little things like that, made all the difference in how that game ended. But that's kind of how it's been this season. But I do want to bring up something that, we were very upset about at that game. And I never like to use penalties as an excuse for losing a game. But we did get major penalties called against us. 11 penalties to, I believe, 2 to the Saints. So not only was the proportionate amount of penalties extremely in New Orleans' favor, even by their own Saints radio network, they admitted how they were getting calls that day. But there's one in particular that I think is a little bit misunderstood, and that was the pick play that involved number 83 of the Saints. He had 2 pick plays that he was involved with that got the Coach Carroll and the Seahawks livid about, and it was not called. And I think maybe a lot of people out there who I've talked to don't seem to really understand what the pick play is all about. So I thought I'd explain it to you because some of you may be wondering what is a definition of a pick play. So I'm going to explain it and show you how that works. So by definition, a pick play is an illegal play in which an offensive player attempts to impede the progress of a downfield defender in order to allow a teammate to get open for a pass. And usually this entails a pair of receivers running a crossing pattern past one another with one receiver designated to make enough contact with the defender to allow the other receiver to come open. It'll be much more clear if I show you. So I pull up a couple of stills from the Saints game, and this was at a crucial juncture, not near the end, but it is a crucial part of the game where it's third down. We're ahead 16-17, 12 and a half minutes left in the fourth quarter. It's third down. Now that's important. It's third down here. We see the Saints lined up in a pretty typical formation. You got 2 receivers left. You've got another wide on the right, tight end here on the left side. Drew Brees in the shotgun with a single setback. Seattle has got, it looks like man-to-man here with Sherman down here, Jeremy Lane, and Deshaun Shedd with a single safety, Earl Thomas, and 3 linebackers. So what happens here, here's where the pick happens. You look at these 2 players right here. What's going to happen is the pass is designed to go to this outside receiver, Cooks. Snead is going to pick Jeremy Lane here. In other words, he's going to block him, and he's going to run a slant pattern in here. And by blocking him, he basically opens up this whole area here and allows him to catch the slant for a touchdown. So that's where they are pre-snap. They snap the ball, and this is what happens next. If I can get it to, there it is. All right, so here's the pick. This is 83. He goes off the line of scrimmage. He pushes Jeremy Lane here about 2 or 3 yards into the end zone. He runs a slant, and there's Drew Brees throwing the ball to him. He goes in for a touchdown. New Orleans takes the lead. And they did that a couple of times, but this one was one of the more crucial ones because this was third down. If they don't get this touchdown, or it's called as in pass interference, that's a 10-yard penalty, and it's now 3rd and goal from the 12-yard line instead of the 2, and that may change the entire complexion of the game, possibly making it only a field goal instead of a touchdown to win the game for us. So this is not really for me to whine and complain about, the penalties being the reason we lost, but just an example of how one play like that can make a huge difference. Much like I admitted that against the the Atlanta Falcons, that pass interference at the end, which I think they could have rightfully called pass interference, was not called, and made a difference in Atlanta's chances of trying to catch up and win that ball game. Not a guarantee, but it would have made the odds a lot better, just like it would have made the odds of us a lot better in that game. So anyway, so that's the pick play. Just wanted to kind of show you guys kind of the nuts and bolts, the X's and O's of how that works. So moving along, so where do we stand here? Let's just kind of look at what's the situation now with our Seahawks. We're in first place still, a game and a half ahead of Arizona. Oddly, we're still in the top 4 on the ESPN power rankings, yet it seems like us as Seattle fans feels like our team is doing horribly, even though we're still in first place and still, in a good spot. But it just feels not right because of how we've been playing. If you look at the standings, we're 4-2-1, but the funny thing is our season has been so tight that we could easily be 7-0 if 1 or 2 plays go right in all those games. We could also easily be 2-5. So that's how narrow our margin has been. That's why every play like this makes a difference because every game has been so close, one score, that one play could be the difference between 2-5 and 7-0. So what's wrong with the Seahawks? What's going on? What do we have to do to kind of get right the remainder of this season? Injuries is a big thing. Obviously, the most obvious one is Russell Wilson with his knee, ankle, and pec. Luke Wilson being out, Thomas Rawls, who we haven't even hardly seen this whole season, losing left tackle Sowell to now having a rookie who's George Fant, who's really hardly played any football. He's kind of learning trial by fire. He's getting in there and had a little bit rough play in the Saints game, but he's an athletic guy, and I think he can get it together. Defense, we haven't had Chancellor in 3 games. Michael Bennett's out, had surgery this week, is going to be out for another 2 to 3 weeks. Mike Morgan has been out. And the Seahawks did sign Demontre Moore, defensive end, to help shore up the missing spot there with Michael Bennett out. He was formerly of the Giants, played a little bit with the Dolphins, so we'll see how that kind of works out and how they plan to incorporate him. The defense, despite all that, has been pretty solid. They've been going by the old way they always seem to play, which is bend but don't break. Problem is they're just so taxed. They've been out in the field way too long, and time of possession is just, the defense can't seem to get off the field on third down. The good part about it is they get to the end zone and they seem to have a pretty good knack of keeping teams from getting in the end zone on a consistent basis. Had a great goal line stand against the Saints, but he'd given them field position, and eventually they are going to score, which is what they did. Of course, a little help by pick play over there. But what's going to have to happen? So, the offensive line, everybody's been harping about the offensive line, how bad it is and this and that. Complaining about the offensive line for Seattle is nothing new. We've been doing this for how many seasons now? Really since I think Russell Wilson has been the quarterback of this team. But you just look back to last season where we start off really horrible productivity, lots of sacks, and then at a certain point halfway through the season or so, they just started to gel. And you remember how the season ended. We had Russell with, the record-setting touchdown passes. Rawls started to take off, and then even after he got injured, Chris Michael came in and was tearing it up. And I think it's just because of the nature of the fact we haven't had a consistent offensive line, it just takes time for them to kind of get going. And I feel like that is happening. I think Pete Carroll alluded to it in a press conference saying that the best is yet to come, that something is going to happen. And I believe that that's going to be the case. The offensive line will get it together. They always do, and we always finish strong as a second half team. So I think they are going to get rolling. It just takes time. It always takes time. The injury to Wilson is a big deal. We are a team that's philosophically built to be a run team first, and built on defense. Because of the injury to Wilson, it's kind of changed all that, because now we're almost like a passing team first. The balance has been definitely in more of the passing and not the running. Wilson, his injury early on obviously has made him unable to run. It hurts not just in the running game, but it also affects the passing game, in that Russell Wilson's threat to run opens up so many things in the passing game. They would have to have a spy on him to keep him from running around the corner untouched. They don't have to do that anymore. So now they're able to drop guys back into coverage, making it not only is the run neutralized by default, but now they can actually defend the pass better. An example of that is in the Saints game, the interception that he threw. It was not a good pass. He forced it in there into a not open lane, trying to hit Curse. But if you look at that play, they rushed only 3 guys and dropped everybody else into coverage. And that linebacker was just floating there watching his eyes and made a great play. Dove and grabbed that ball. But he was just there to kind of spy, sit back there and sit on the route and, made a great play on it. A lot of it is, again, because the threat of Russell Wilson not running allows them to drop more defenders in the back because they can just kind of know he's not going anywhere. So Wilson getting healthy, I think is part of that also. He may not get back to 100% this season, being that he's still continuing to play, but we're just gonna have to adjust. Teams are adjusting to us, so we're gonna have to adjust back. So how do we do that? I know a lot of people are saying, let's just rest Russell Wilson for a game or 2 and let's put Trevon Boykin in there. That's the solution. No, I contend that is not the solution. Trevon Boykin, while he did show great signs in the parts of preseason, if you remember the last game of preseason, he had a horrible game. He was not good making throws, and there was even a question whether he'd even make the team. I've contended that Wilson is a better option at 75% than 100% or more, Trevon Boykin. He still can make the throws that Boykin can't. From what I saw, he still can throw. He's looking mechanically, seems fine. We just know he just can't run like he is. It feels like we're watching a fast forward, that 39-year-old version of Russell Wilson right now, the way he's moving. But it's temporary, and he will get healthier. Maybe not entirely healthier this season, but he'll be back. The good news is, with all those injuries that we've had, most of those guys are coming back. Chancellor and Bennett, Luke Wilson, Thomas Rawls, these guys will be back at some point. The way I see the Seahawks right now is, from an injury standpoint, we're like a ship in the middle of a storm, and it's being pummeled by all the hurricanes and waves and wind, and the stuff's tearing apart. But all we gotta do is, if we can survive the storm enough to make it back into port, then I think we get back into port, we get resupplied, we stock up, we repair, and we get upgraded. And getting those guys back will be like we're getting upgrades, because we're getting guys back we haven't even had, like Rawls, haven't even had him the whole season at all. Then we'll be strong for that finish that we always have, the final 6 games or 7 games of the season. So the key now is just to stay ahead enough in the FC West, hang in there, so that we can, just stay ahead in the NFC West, ahead of the Cardinals and the rest of the pack. And then with a little luck and keeping our fingers crossed, hope that teams like Dallas, who are playing really good right now, don't get too far ahead, so we can just stay close enough that we can still have that chance for a number 1 seed. So anyway, that's kind of how I see things going. And right now, we're 4-2-1. We're not even at the halfway point. We got a game for the halfway point this upcoming Monday against the Buffalo Bills. And just as a reminder, you remember back in 2014 when we went to the second Super Bowl, in Super Bowl 49, we were 6-4. We had just lost to the Chiefs, and everybody was feeling like, this team's done. We're not going anywhere. We're not going to make the playoffs. And then they had that legendary meeting, and the team came together, and then we went 6-0 the rest of the way, and we finished 12-4, beat the Panthers, miracle game against the Packers, made it to the Super Bowl, and almost won that one. So this team has shown us time and time again that they always finish strong. They find a way to get it together no matter how bad it looks to start or midway through. And I think it's going to be the same case again. So don't lose hope, Seahawks fans out there. It's going to get better. But we've got an important game. Monday Night Football, baby. Buffalo Bills. And for those of you who haven't heard, our good old friend Percy Harvin is back. Out of retirement, came back to join the Bills to potentially play us in that Monday night game. Am I worried about it? Well, I'll talk about the keys to that game tomorrow on my next NorbLog. Oh, I wanted to say a big thank you to all of you who have been watching me on YouTube. Over the weekend while I was in New Orleans, I saw that my channel reached a big milestone, 4 million views on my channel, which is mind-blowingly amazing to me. So I want to thank you guys, because without you, none of this means anything. So I appreciate you guys watching my videos, subscribing, and supporting me for all this, and for commenting, interacting. You guys have made it extremely fun for me to be doing this, and I hope to keep doing it for a long time, but you guys make it happen. So this one's for you. Thank you so much. Hang in there, Seahawks fans. I'll talk to you guys soon. Go Hawks, baby.